used to clear America's railroads when they're blanketed by massive snowfalls. The rotary snowplow stands a spine-shivering 16 foot 6 inches tall, takes up 48 feet of track, and weighs a snow-stomping 137 tons. That's nearly 300,000 pounds. Mounted on the bow of this blizzard-eating beast is an 11-foot fan, driven by a 1,750 horsepower engine. Spinning it to swallow a wall of rail-clogging snow 12 feet deep and spit it a distance of 100 feet. That's a third of a football field. The cold fact is, when it comes to clearing snow from California's Sierra Nevada mountains, this is hands down the biggest stick in the railroad's bag.
If we didn't have the rotary snowplow available, we wouldn't be able to keep up if we got heavy snows that we have had in the past. It moves such a large amount of snow that we would be shut down, and it would be weeks before we could get the Sierras open again without this piece of equipment. The weather conditions that we bring the rotary out is either we've gotten very heavy snows, so then we'll come out with the rotary and it moves very slowly, but it does move a large amount of snow.
We're moving about 8 miles an hour.
In fact, this machine is so capable at carving a path through the white stuff that the railroads don't bother using it for ordinary snowfalls. Nope, this beast only sees service roughly once a decade. That's the typical time between blizzards big enough to bother getting this rotary all revved up.
The last time we brought the rotary out was 96 and 97. We'd had over 500 inches up on top of the hill when we averaged 450 in an average year. And we had a 12.5 foot bank, so we brought the rotary out, and then the following day we plowed from Emigrant Gap to Truckee and cleared the railroad up. To put together a snow train, we will start with a rotary on each end. Against those rotaries, we will have a B unit, or what some people call a slug. That's a locomotive that powers the blade itself. Then there's 2 locomotives in the middle, which are AC locomotives. The wings on the side, they're developed to operate so we can cut a wider path. And so we can shoot that wing out there and actually give us another foot. So that's why the wings are so important to us, is to just make our path wider, and it picks up more snow.
Believe it or not, rotary snowplows are not modern inventions. This once steam-powered machine was actually built back in 1937. But while converted to diesel-driven electric in 1957, it still uses these boiling hot vapors to keep this snow-blowing operation on track.
The thing we use the steam for is to keep the windows clean, to keep the joints for the wings working, and of course we still have the steam whistle, which everybody loves. But that's what keeps everything working and operating so it doesn't freeze up on us. Well, I guess you could compare it to a dragon as the steam comes out and as it hisses at you, and it looks like it's alive and breathing when we have it fired up and actually operating. Okay, here we're at the front of the rotary. As you can see, we have the blades. Those are 11 feet across. The snow is picked up into the blade as it spins, and it goes out the top, depending way up there at the top which way we have the chute going and the blade rotating. That's the direction that we will throw the snow. Here we're in the rotary snowplow control cab. And up here we have, these are rather unique, windows that rotate. These were developed by ships at sea when they were in high seas. As they rotate, you never see anything hit the windshield. So when heavy snows, we don't see anything hit there at all. It's always clear.
But what's never clear while operating in these conditions is what's on the hillside above you. Go banging through a mountain pass with this snowplow, and the mountain could come crashing down.
Well, whenever we have the rotary out, it's generally potentially dangerous because we've had very heavy snows. In that case, we're in slide conditions. And so the biggest thing that we probably worry about is slides off of the side of the hill that may come down and bury us or tip us over. In 82 and 83, they had 194 inches come down in a few days on a base of 94 inches. We weren't blowing the whistle. We were being as quiet as we could because we were so concerned about slides.
But with a careful eye on the mountain above you, the rotary snowplow will keep rolling, relentlessly removing snow, keeping America's railroads running.
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible machine. It is very powerful, and it does move a lot of snow. And consider how long it's been out here operating, that it's pretty incredible that it still works today like it does and as well as it does.
What is 2 stories tall, can lift the weight of 40 cars over its head, and weighs more than a 737? The Letourneau L2350, the largest front-end loader in the world. The Letourneau Company of Longview, Texas builds these giants to load coal, gold and copper ore, and other minerals into equally giant trucks.
Well, this is a 53 cubic yard rock bucket. Again, the machine has a total hoist capacity of 80 tons. To put this in perspective, the 53 cubic yard capacity is equivalent to about 5 normal dump trucks that you might see going up and down the road.
Wheel loaders are relatively young in the excavator family. In the 1920s, several implement manufacturers began building scoop attachments that fitted to the front of farm tractors. It wasn't until after World War II that manufacturers began making special purpose loaders. Since then, they've grown up. The Letourneau Company has a long history building front-end loaders. But this is the very first L2350 to roll off the assembly line. Near the plant, there's a test site where the machine is put through its paces.
The need for the 2350 was born from the need to load bigger trucks. The dump trucks are getting bigger and bigger. If you can move more dirt with less people, that's the name of the game.
Engineers worked for 2 years to design the 2350. Their goal was to build a machine capable of lifting 50% more than its predecessor.
The dilemma that we faced were tires. There just was not a tire big enough. So we partnered with the engineers at Firestone to develop the world's largest tire. The tires are 13 feet tall, they're over 5 feet wide, and they're truly the biggest pieces of rubber that you'll see.
Letourneau builds many of the parts for the 2350 at their Longview plant. The company even operates a steel mill.
That's what we have here is an L2350 frame. Now, this is very early in the assembly process, so it's fairly bare. But what we have back here at the very end is the radiator. Now, this radiator has a capacity of about 150 gallons of coolant. Here's an example of a very large 16-cylinder diesel engine. Now, this one's turbocharged and after-cooled. It produces about 2,300 horsepower, and when it's in operation in our loader, it's going to consume fuel at the rate of about 50 gallons per hour.
The diesel engine turns a generator which actually supplies power to the 4 electric traction motors, providing propulsion. Massive 16-inch hydraulic cylinders lift the big bucket.
We could dig an Olympic-sized swimming pool in just a few scoops. I know we just have to be the envy of all the kids that are playing in their sandbox. We just happen to have the biggest sandbox and the biggest toys to play with.
The Hungarians recycled a Russian T-34 tank to create a spectacular prototype called Big Wind. They took off the gun turret and replaced it with jet engines from MiG-21 fighter planes. Water is injected into the jet stream. Then they just open the throttles and blow the fire out. Every team in this fight brings its own special strength. For the Kuwaitis, it is an intimate knowledge of the reservoirs beneath the sprawling Burgan complex. Petroleum engineers Asa Boyabis and Sarah Akbar started the Kuwaiti team.
Ez az eszköz, ami itt van mellettünk, ez a úgynevezett Big Wind, egy turbooltó hajtómű, ami tulajdonképpen egy harckocsi alvázra szerelt MiG-21-es hajtóműpár, és ennek a hajtóműnek az üzemeltetésével tudjuk eloltani a tüzeket, mégpedig olyan módon, hogy a kipufogó gázát használjuk fel ebből a célból, ami oxigénszegény környezetet biztosít, és hogy a hűtőhatást azt javítsuk ezeken a fúvókákon keresztül, a kipufogó gázsugárba vizet tudunk szivattyúzni.
In Australia, trucks have to travel long distances across rough country on a daily basis. In the outback, the towns are so far apart, they use a special kind of truck. Several trailers are joined together to make one long road train. The roads across the outback are straight and empty, perfect for monster vehicles. Here there are few railroads, and only these giant trucks visit the remote mines and farms. Valuable resources are carried by road train from the center of the country to the more populated cities on the coast. It's not surprising it's an Australian mining company that operates the longest truck in the world. This is the custom-built 3B, affectionately known as the Centipede. It's a 205-ton, 160-foot-long rig. It has an 18-speed gearbox with a 550-horsepower engine and carries over a ton of fuel. It has 110 wheels on 28 axles. The Centipede transports zinc ore from a mine in the Northern Territories to a port hundreds of miles away. It works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And in 1 year, it can haul 250,000 tons of ore. Australians have come to rely heavily on these amazing machines, and there are plans for even longer road trains in the future. The mining company is so pleased with the performance of the Centipede that they have built another one. Now there are 2 identical longest trucks in the world.